Could you please introduce Steve Hall?
Yes, the first half of the show we're going to talk real estate, and we've got in studio Steve Hall, President and CEO of Find Fast Real Estate. Steve's an active real estate investor, and his specialty is that he works with sellers and realtors to stop the foreclosure process and help negotiate a short sale. So Steve, welcome to the Best of Investing.
Hey, thanks guys. Thanks for having me here today.
Absolutely. So Steve, you're an active real estate investor. You also do training for new real estate investors, but your primary business is that you help homeowners avoid foreclosure and try to negotiate a successful short sale. So I know there's a lot of companies out there offering that service. So what makes you guys special?
Me, Mark. That's
exactly.
what makes it special.
Steve.
I'm here. No, I've been doing real estate investing since 1995, full-time for the last 4+ years here. And we were pretty successful. And then I got a chance to hook up with some awesome guys here about 18 months ago. The guys from, you've probably seen on TV, A&E's Flip This House, Than Merrill, JD, and Paula Sajan. And hooking up with those guys about 18 months ago has really kind of accelerated what we do. And it's great that we work with homeowners and realtors to, people are going to the foreclosure process to try and convert that into a short sale and try and mitigate them going to the foreclosure process.
Well, Steve, now that you're hooked up with them, do they call you Flipper? And are you faster than lightning?
Do you want me to sing the song?
Yeah, exactly.
No, you don't want me to sing. Trust me.
Okay.
So, but yeah, it's a great company, and I think one of the things that makes us so successful is by learning that process and being focused in on that short sale, the loss mitigation aspect of it is really kind of key. I think we're probably 5 to 8 times higher closure ratio than what you would find in the general population, just because we're focused on that one specific area.
And because you're an investor and you do training and you've got clientele who are out there actively looking for product to purchase, to rehab and flip or for investment purposes, then you can actually provide the buyer pool as well. So you can work essentially both sides of the equation, which I guess helps you in your success rate.
That's exactly true. I mean, a lot of people can go out and negotiate short sales, but if you don't have the investors that want to swing a paintbrush or a screwdriver, you guys can see me, I don't do that, right? So, but finding those buyers that want to buy those types of properties, I think is really one of the main keys for us to close those.
Well, I know some people who have gotten involved with short sales and they're trying to buy the properties and not necessarily to flip it, but they figured, okay, well, I can get a good deal on this. But
right.
Man, dealing with the banks has been so difficult. It's taken them months to
be able to do our job as good as we wanted to. We knew there was some kind of bailout coming our way, and that's a different show. Yeah. But really, if we weren't able to do that, then we probably wouldn't be as motivated to go through that process. So a lot of times when we negotiate with banks, the negotiators, those initial negotiators, are kind of desk jockeys that are collecting paperwork and things of that nature. Yeah. To get a hold of the asset managers, the decision makers, I think is one of the main keys in order to get those short sales completed. So definitely one of our fortes to do. So I would say absolutely. A lot of the national lenders tends to be a little bit more of a challenge because they're a lot more structured. Some of the smaller lenders, again, they may actually hold the notes or just servicing them for smaller investors.
Well, you were mentioning that before we went on the show about how some of these banks, they're making income off the servicing. So where's their incentive, to...
Totally. There's one national lender that we worked with. The homeowner was trying to do a short sale and it took him 1.5 years and still wasn't getting anywhere. We got involved. And once we found out that this national lender was servicing a loan for somebody else, we were able to circumvent them, go directly to that investor and get that file closed.
So that's the important thing, is to find out who the real note holder is.
Totally. People working the short sale business, one of our forms is an authorization form for us to talk to the bank on the behalf of the seller. And in that form, we also have them sign off that we can find out who the note holder is. So by doing that...
Well, remember a couple of shows ago we were talking about, the 23 states or 28 states who are having problems with foreclosure because the note kept getting transferred from bank to bank to bank. Mm-hmm. How easy is that?
Happens all the time. And I think the lenders, a lot of those lenders are servicing those notes and making a lot of money off it. So they're not as motivated to get that deal closed. And what we try and do from a short sale standpoint is to work with that note holder to show them they're going to get a certain dollar amount paid off in that 30 to 60 day period, which is more than what if a property were to go into foreclosure. Yeah. depending upon how many people are on title, a property could be in foreclosure for a year or two. And I don't know if you guys have been on Craigslist recently, but you can go on there and look up free stuff or kitchen cabinets, and you'll see people going to foreclosure. They're like, "Hey, my house is going away. Come get these cabinets for $10."
I thought free stuff. Go get the house.
Well, yeah, I've seen that too. They had a company properties, and so the developer came with the bulldozer and just whacked the whole thing down. So I think going through the short sale process is definitely a better process than foreclosure. It helps people save their credit.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They can stay in their property a little bit longer, and it's great for investors like me because I can find properties at a great deal. We talked about this before too. Looking at properties and buying them, rehabbing them, you're not competing against anybody in the short sale process compared to when a house goes to foreclosure on the courthouse steps.
And that's exactly right. As you know, I'm a private lender, and so a lot of my clients are real estate investors or borrowers looking to make great deals on properties. And what I'm seeing is that the best deals that I see come across my desk are clients who have negotiated a short sale as opposed to trustee sales or the REOs that are on the MLS.
Yeah, and, just for our listening audience, we're talking with Steve Hall, who's kind of a specialist with flipping houses. And when we come back from break, definitely give us a call to ask a question to Steve Hall. Our phone number is 1-800-345-KNEW. That's 1-800-345-5639. And we're going to go to our first commercial break. So listeners, here is the first trivia question. Which Oakland Raiders quarterback who played in the 1970s was nicknamed the Snake? The first three callers with the correct answer. No, Steve, I got to see your hand. You cannot answer the question. Sorry about that. The first three callers with the correct answer win a free 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Again, their website is lighthouseforfun.com. Call 1-800-345-KNEW. That's 1-800-345-5639 to answer this question. Which Oakland Raiders quarterback who played in the 1970s was nicknamed the Snake? 1-800-345-KNEW. We'll be right back.
New investors, and I just wanted to, we were talking off the air about how this market is really starting to get crazy in a lot of ways, and particularly for the new investor, there seems to be a lot more new investors jumping into the market lately. A lot of money chasing, both bank-owned properties and people who buy the trustee sales are telling me that they're seeing a lot more people there these days, a lot more money. They're starting to bid up. So, if you're new in this, you really. I think it's really incumbent that you work with a professional and not try to do this on your own, because there are people in this market that are paying too much and finding a big surprise at the end of the day when they go to sell that property.
Yeah, and we actually call it kind of the eBay phenomenon, right? So you've got maybe 20, 30, or 50 people sitting at the courthouse steps at 12 o'clock at noon, and they're bidding on properties. A lot of them they haven't seen or been inside of them. A lot of times the homeowners are in there, so even if they do win that property, they have to go through that eviction process, and you guys know here in the Bay Area it could take 6 months or more to get somebody out of that property. The realtors have cash for keys, where sometimes they'll show up and say, "Hey, we'll give you $2,000 or $5,000 to get out next week." But if somebody's really want to entrench in that property, it could take somebody at a trustee sale. It could take a long period of time to actually gain access to that.
One time we had to go buy a guy a truck.
Yeah.
To get him to leave, seriously.
Yeah.
Because I got nowhere to go. Here's a truck. Go.
That's right. Pack it up, buddy. Let's go.
Exactly. Well, also, a lot of those people who show up at the trustee sales, a lot of them are just looky-loos.
There are quite a few. Yeah, there are quite a few. In my area, we're based in San Mateo County, so there's probably about 30 or 40 people there on a daily basis, and there's maybe 3 or 4 that are really that active in bidding on those properties.
And they still, unless it's changed, they actually have to have all cash, don't they?
Typically they'll do, and a lot of times they'll do cashier's checks just like they do cash. So $100,000, $50,000 in those increments.
And in Hawaii, the way it used to be is you only had to put up 10%, but within 30 days you had to put up the balance of the money. So you could easily bid up property potentially there. Whereas here in California, I mean, someone's going for $200,000, you got to have $200,000 in cashier's checks. And for those not familiar with it, a lot of times what will happen is someone will come with a check for $180,000, and then they'll have them in increments of $5,000,
right,
in case it gets
so
bid
they can
up.
bid up. Yeah.
Well, $200,000 is a large refrigerator box here in the city, right?
Yeah, nowadays.
Yeah. We typically look at about 70% of ARV, which is after repair value, less rehab costs is our acquisition costs. So as investors, we make our money when we buy, not when we sell. And so by understanding how much it costs to rehab the property, and then we list those properties usually about 5% below market so we can get them off our books as quickly as possible. Very systematic approach. Again, the guys from Flip This House, CT Homes, are awesome. Trained me, and now we're training others to do the same.
You got to make sure that your costs are very calculated. And the thing is, if you haven't been able to inspect the house, you may run into things behind the walls you didn't realize.
Exactly, and so that's why I'm not a huge advocate of buying a trustee sale, because you don't know what's behind door number one. So in the short sale process, we get a chance to look at the property, find out what's going on with it. We have a repair sheet that we can go through a property in about 15 minutes and really evaluate within about a 5% range what the rehab costs are going to be for that property.
There's also risks at the trustee sale with regard to title insurance, and there might be old taxes there that just don't go away.
Yes. There's a lot of risk.
Or you could be buying a second and not know it, and that's still happening quite a bit these days.
Sounds like you're talking from personal experience, Mark. I just saw his smile go to a frown.
Steve, I've actually seen your spreadsheets. You have a very detailed Excel spreadsheet that you go through every line item by line item with all the various costs, and so you're very meticulous. And so is that part of your training and your mentoring with your students is to show them how to go through and calculate costs? Because I agree with you. You have to acquire the property at the right price, because right now you cannot bank on there being any appreciation.
And what kind of discount are you generally trying to find?
So again, I think probably that 70 to 72% range.
Now, is that 72% of the
after repair value?
Okay, so okay. I'm just trying to think of like the value of the mortgage that's being foreclosed.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's like, so you're not necessarily looking at what is the bank doing their credit bid for. You're just strictly looking at after repair value.
Right.
And taking a discount from there.
Right. So we run the comps. So for an example, let's say a property is going to sell. We figure after it's going to be rehabbed, it'll sell for $1 million. Our acquisition cost should be about $700,000, $720,000, somewhere around there, less our rehab costs. So we do a lot of due diligence in terms of having our brokers and agents run comps for active, pending, sold, knowing what those properties sell for, evaluating what those rehab costs are going to be, and then we can buy. I mean, you got to figure about off there as well. When the banks are finding out that you're buying it as an investor, sometimes they might not be as susceptible to taking your offer as opposed to you being an end buyer type of thing. So because we're buying at a discount.
Well, Steve, it's been a pleasure. Definitely stay with us in the second half,
Absolutely.
Where we're going to be talking mostly to Ken Winans. I want to talk to him about the economy and Bernanke with the $600 billion. And Ken, you were in Barron's and Princeton, and we were going to get into all that fun stuff. But for now, let's get into the commercial break. Our second trivia question. What sport has a bunch of guys huddled over a ball, something called a scrum? The first three callers with the correct answer win a 3-day, 2-night stay at the Lighthouse Resort. Their website, lighthouse4fun.com. Again, what sport has a bunch of guys huddled over a ball in a scrum? Call 1-800-345-KNEW. That's 1-800-345-5639. We will be right back.